Of Get Your Tech On, our show on all things DOCSIS. I'm Brady Volpe, founder of the Volpe firm and Chief Product Officer at OpenVault. I'm so glad to be here and thrilled you're here with us. Back as usual, he's pumping up the bit rates with his massive biceps. It's John the Hammer Downey, Senior Industry Consultant. John, good to see you.
Good to be back. Juan Van Dam is what they call me.
We got a new name for you?
I also broke out the old shirt. It's a Wave Tech shirt.
WaveTech,
I'm bringing it back.
It's got some years on that shirt, John. How old is that shirt?
Yeah, almost 30 years old. It's what we call the Texas tuxedo. Denim.
We've got viewers that are not as old as that shirt, John. So welcome to our viewers. If you got a message, drop it in the chat, or if you're watching later, drop us a comment below. So, John, this being our 100th episode, our executive producer, Mia Calabrese, has put together a short montage showing how we've gone from our humble beginnings to our multi-$100 studio that we broadcast from today. And I must say, our early episodes were really quite bad compared to our current videos, which are just moderately bad. So let's go ahead.
Are you talking about my audio?
Yeah, well, just everything. But let's go ahead and roll the video. So it seems like I got older and you got more hair. I'm not sure how that happened.
Some of those I could tell I was like prepping for a bodybuilding show because my face looked like gaunt. Like it looked like a wrestler. I was like an old skinny looking.
Yeah. Well, your audio got better, our video got better, and we both got older over time, over the last 100 episodes. But we've done it. We've hit 100 episodes.
That's why. Did you check the date of that first one? It had to be what, 7-8 years ago?
2014, I think, was when we did our first episode. It was 2013.
Yeah. About 10 years.
Yes,
we've definitely 10 years.
Doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
So today, as we discussed, we're going to cover some of the upcoming tech and sessions that will be at SCTE Tech Expo 2024 in Atlanta, Georgia, which is going to be from September 24th to 26th. If any of our viewers were not aware of that, we're going to focus on the technical tracks, which the objective of the technical tracks is to provide technical content and education to those who attend the show, but then there's also papers that come out of those. So if you don't attend the show, you get to read great technical papers afterwards. But if you do attend the show, you must purchase a full conference pass to attend those sessions. There are 9 technical tracks, and I thought I'd give a quick summary of the technical tracks in case anyone hasn't had those. So I see there's Grab a Sandwich says, John, you still need a better mic because your audio still isn't that good, or you need better mic placement. So even though our video gets better, our audio still is not up to par. No, hopes and dreams. So let me just kind of quickly summarize the technical tracks. There's and we'll probably talk most about the first one, which is the wireline network evolution. This track will kind of delve into the essential technologies driving the evolution of wireline networks, which is our hybrid fiber HFC networks. The next track is wireless and convergence. This track will explore building converged networks, examining the utilization of ORAN, multi-access technologies, network slicing, and Wi-Fi to provide a comprehensive solution for cable operators. Then there's the AI and automation track. This track explores the synergy of data and AI automation. I'll talk a little bit about that, about a presentation on that track later on. There's an operations and construction track and network planning. This track explores the strategies for deploying innovative solutions to increase network efficiency. and provide faster and more reliable services. We got a comment in here. It says, congrats, thanks, username redacted, UNR. Congrats on the 100th episode. When John's audio cleared up, I almost stopped watching. I mean, it was some part of the character and personality of the show that I've come to expect. If I didn't recognize your voice after we did that, after you got better on.
I was AI before AI came. AI.
Was that Headspace? Max Headroom. No, Max Headroom. Yeah. So on with our tracks. There's another track is Network as a Service, and I think people say that NAS, or I don't know if they abbreviate that or not. But this track explores the how to future-proof your network and enhance user experiences both at home and on the go. There's a security and privacy track. I'm really, really glad they have that, because I think we can always improve the security and privacy of networks, and we definitely need to continue to do that. There's an there's a growth and transformation track to basically explore the evolution of business models that cable operators can do. A human factor track to explore how people process and culture come together and fuel your network. So those are the 9 tracks. And so, if you're kind of looking at I'd recommend everyone go to the SCTE Expo website, take a look at the tracks if you're going there, and then kind of focus on what different presentations you want to go and attend, because they all kind of overlap each other, and you can't attend each workshop at the same time, which for me is kind of a challenge because I want to attend them all. But you gotta pick which ones you want to go to. So, John, I know you've looked at some of them. Are there any in particular you plan on attending? Because I know you're going to be at Expo as well.
Yeah. So I'll be going to support Technetics, and they're still showing off the 3 hertz powering solution, which is interesting still. And what do we call it? The DGA, distributed gain architectures. The Neuronics, which is AI, machine learning, smart amplifiers, stuff that is coming out where you won't have to balance and sweep the equipment because it can do it automatically. So some of it's pretty interesting, almost like hands-off, plug and play.
But where are we with the smart amplifiers? Are they available, or are they still in the development phase, or are they actually in production and rolled out in the field?
I think they're more in the trial phases at this point. We'll get more information. I can't delve on too much of it, but you'll get more information.
Keep going. We want to hear all the secrets, John.
The secret sauce. You'll hear more of it when we get there at the show. So I will be there at the show in Atlanta, and hope to see everybody there. It's usually a good time, right?
Yep.
I see it starts Tuesday and goes to like Thursday afternoon.
Correct.
They always try to set up the times that don't overlap too much on the show floor versus the tech sessions, right, which is good because sometimes it's hard to go to the tech sessions and then there's no one on the show floor. So what else? Isn't there like fireside chats and stuff like that as well?
Yeah. So
like sessions.
Yeah, now I'll talk about the PNM Live one in a little bit, but so they're going to have I think they'll have the same setup where they have like a theater on the show floor, and I think that's where we'll have the PNM Live session I'm going to talk about shortly.
And for me, the expo is always about what's happening now. What can I do? What is real? Not what's on a PowerPoint presentation. Not what you say is going to happen. I don't want to hear just theory. I want to hear like results.
Right.
So this show usually has good feedback from operators saying lessons learned. That's always a good one, right? As soon as you say lessons learned, then it's kind of like, well, that guy went through some troubles. Then I'll avoid that trouble by doing exactly what he did, by fixing it or avoiding it. So I think this show is always good for that, but you're always going to get some theory in there as well. The theory ones, I listen to it and I try to decipher it and process it. And then later on, I have to read the papers to get a little bit better understanding, because when you're listening to someone speak for, say, 15, 20 minutes, they don't have a lot of time to go in depth.
Right.
And there's some stuff they'll throw up there, and there might be small numbers, and I'm like, man, I can't process this. And I've been doing it for a long time too. So if I can't process it, I'm like, how can other people process it? So, I think you really need to get the information. And sometimes I thought it would be good to give the presentations out to all the attendees before the presentation.
So you can get your questions in and also see
Yes,
which ones you're really interested in first.
exactly. Read it over,
So one of the sessions, and I happen to be moderating this session, so I'm familiar with the presentations, but I'm really going to recommend this presentation because I think not only does it have some, as you were saying, theoretical stuff in it, but it has meat and potatoes in it, where you're going to go there and you're going to come back and say, wow, I learned some things that I can actually apply, especially for those people out there who are using PNM or even PMA, the profile management application. And this presentation is on the wireline network evolution track. The session itself is called Your Network is Talking, Please Listen. It's featured, the panelists that are on there, well, I'm the moderator, so I'll be there, but Larry Welcott, Mike Odell, and Bilal Hamza. Apologize if I get your last name wrong, Bilal. I know we've worked together for a while, but I've always pronounced your last name wrong. But all three of them are from Comcast, but they're super smart guys. And Larry and Mike Odell have both made appearances on this show as well. So they're good friends of ours.
And they break it down. They break it down to a level you can understand. And they started out in the field like all of us.
Correct. So they have such great practical experience. And they have the ability to communicate it in a way that we understand it, and we all understand it. So Larry is going to be talking about OFDM and OFDMA, which is important to a lot of us in the industry right now who are deploying that. But he talks about how the capabilities in OFDM and OFDMA give us the ability to have, if you're using PNM, they're really pushing this technology forward, and it gives us the ability, in Larry's words, to have like laser guided precision for identifying faults in your plants. And if you're using PNM today, you know that we create these, we're able to use correlation groups, and we can kind of narrow down where the impairment is to within about 25 to 50 feet accuracy. And what you're going to find out, and I really, really want to encourage people to go to this session, is Larry shows that, wow, we get laser accuracy now with OFDM and OFDMA and the capabilities there. But I don't want to give away any of the secrets. You got to attend that session. And then Mike Odell follows up with how we can start intelligently prioritize. So once we start finding all these impairments, how we start to intelligently figure out which one should we fix first and what metrics we should look at to determine why one impairment should be fixed ahead of another impairment based on the subscribers that are behind those impairments. We shouldn't be just randomly fixing impairments. There's a reason that we should fix one impairment ahead of another, that prioritization. And then finally, Bilal, the third speaker on the presentation, he talks about maximizing upstream spectral efficiency through some really interesting breakthroughs that he has, kind of like PMA, but he's using some new algorithms and things like that. From my perspective, he's just advancing PMA even further. So I'm super psyched about this panel. Not just because I'm moderating it, but also because I think it's just a culmination of the latest technology in PNM and PMA that these guys just keep pushing forward and forward, and the entire industry is going to benefit for it. And it's really easy to understand.
Explain PMA so everyone on
yeah. So PMA, the profile management application, it only right now supports really DOCSIS 3.0, 3.1. From the OFDM and OFDMA channels. What it does, it's an external application that controls the CMTS, but it looks for impairments on those OFDM and OFDMA channels, and it can go in and very, very eloquently adjust the modulation for each profile. Within an OFDM or OFDMA channel, we have multiple profiles. Typically, those profiles are flat, like 256 QAM, 1024 QAM, 4096 QAM, but if you have an impairment in the middle of one of your channels, that's going to cause the cable modem to drop to the lowest common denominator, like 256 QAM. The profile management application, PMA, can look at that impairment and say, I'm just going to create a little notch or drop some of the subcarriers to a lower modulation exactly where that impairment is. I'm not going to drop the entire flat profile. Just drop the subcarriers that are impaired to a lower modulation. That way they can the cable modem can run at 4096 QAM everywhere that the impairment is not, and where the impairment is, it may have to drop down to 256 QAM or maybe even 64 QAM, but that's going to make that cable modem be able to use the highest modulation it can everywhere the impairment isn't.
Yeah, and like I said, the beauty is it's per modem. So it's not like you're saying, I'm going to change the modulation profile for everybody just because one guy's having problems.
It can be per modem or per groups of modems. So it uses like machine learning or clustering algorithms to look, where there's an impairment in this section of the plant. So we'll adapt the profiles for that section of the plant to make everything run smoothly. So we got a couple of questions here in a chat. Grab a Sandwich says, at this point, I wonder if DOCSIS 4.0 should be abandoned in favor of fiber to the home to compete with MSOs whose footprint has finally reached critical mass. And I think that's a question that cable operators have to struggle with for themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a competitive area, you have to do what you have to do to keep those customers coming back.
I think that keeps come down to money.
Yes.
I mean, not every geographic area is the same. If you were going into a dense area, you'd be like, yeah, I could do fiber, but then it comes down to timing, comes down to right of ways. How do I get it in there? If you already have cable, you're like, I just changed the endpoints. I might be able to get higher speed with 3.1 endpoints, a cable modem, CMTS.
And I think the competition does the same thing. They're cherry picking dense areas in more affluent neighborhoods. So it goes both ways. Username Redacted said, do you think that PNM, smart amps, and AI will eventually mitigate the need for balancing and sweeping, etc.? So John, you've dealt a little bit more with the smart amp side. What do you think? Do you think sweep is going to go away? Balancing? Particularly the manual side of it.
Yes, I think that's the key. Is it's not going away, but it's more automated. There might not be a need to, I hate to say it, hire contractors to go out there and sweep an entire plant when I have the equipment out there, and I'm going to utilize the contractors to quickly get the amplifiers up and running. How do I do that? Maybe the amplifiers are self-balancing, built-in pads and EQs, so you don't carry around a tackle box full of like accessories, plugging and chugging accessories. So some of that will go away. And with the advent of distributed access architecture, remote PHY, remote MAC-PHY, you might be going fiber a lot deeper and only one or two amplifiers. So there's not as much to sweep. Now, with that said, as we go to 1.8 gigahertz, we know some of this coax is very temperamental.
Bigger
when
challenges.
You get to higher frequencies, little kinks, little holes, bad craftsmanship on the connectors and all that. The drip loops, the expansion loops, and all that stuff might not have a problem in 1.1 gig or 1.2 gig, but 1.8 might be a different story. Now we're talking about, can we go out to 5 gigahertz? I'm like, well, yeah. So coax is getting smaller and smaller, right? And so there's still a play there. At some point, you're like, bite the bullet and go fiber all the way. But at some point, you're like, I can still utilize existing coax. Let's just quantify how good it is. So I need to sweep past it.
Yeah.
My problem now is we can load up spectrum to use the channels in the spectrum as sweep points, right? We call it sweepless sweep. You're just connecting the dots like frequency, in-channel frequency response, but just tie all the channels together and you can see the response all the way across. But what do we do from 1.2 gigahertz to 1.8 gigahertz? There's no source of signal. There's nothing I can just turn on because all the CMTSs might go to 3.1 DOCSIS 3.1, but they stop at 1.2 gigahertz.
So you got to have something. You got to either put channels out there, or you have to have a sweep system that you can put out there. You can sweep that plant to see if it can support the higher channels.
Or the remote PHY device might have to be upgraded to blast out fake signals all the way out to 1.8. Right. So you can use a newer modem, a DOCSIS 3.1 plus or a 4.0 modem that has full bandwidth capture all the way out to 1.8 gigahertz. And then you have all these endpoints, and you can say, all right, let's look at the spectrum from point A to point B, but you still got to fill up that spectrum.
Correct.
I'm not going to rely on the noise floor to quantify my signature.
And just a point of clarification, you said coax is getting smaller. It's not actually the coax that's getting smaller. It's the length
Shorter?
of the number
The
of
amount.
amplifiers that we have. Our cascades are
Yeah.
getting smaller in our
Yeah.
plant.
I think you can make a play saying all the way up to the tap is still going to be a money play.
Yep.
So if I still use drop cable, I get rid of all hardline cable, it could still be a money play to say it's still cheaper for me to run fiber to the tap and then still use existing coax drop cable and not run fiber to every single house.
All right, so another comment from username redacted. He said, "Hey, Grab, we've been installing miles and miles of coax plant extension using 1.2 gigahertz equipment. I just can't understand why our company is spending exorbitant amounts of money to install coax when we can future-proof with fiber to the home." So I think this is a challenge for every cable operator, right? It's like we got that fiber, we got that coax already out there. Let's just keep extending it because that's lowest cost, easiest for us to do. Ripping everything up and putting fiber in, it's a bit more costly. So it's just keep doing what we've been doing, and we're seeing a lot of operators do that. Username redacted. Why does my profile keep dropping to 16 QAM? So I'm wondering if that's on the upstream that he's seeing that profile drop to 16 QAM. So there's something called dynamic modulation profiles that we have on the upstream. So if there's enough noise that happens that's detected, we can configure the CMTSs to have the modem run at 64 QAM when there's not a lot of noise. But if the CMTS detects, depending on how that CMTS is configured, John, you know this way more than I do, but you can set it to say, well, if there's uncorrectable code word errors, drop that modulation on the modem to 16 QAM so it doesn't get any errors. I don't know if you want to add to that, John.
I mean, the problem is if it's DOCSIS 2.0 or even 3.0, we're not doing OFDMA, we're doing single carrier QAMs. It's changing the modulation on the CMTS side, which means everybody is affected.
Right.
But with that said, because usually everyone sees the same noise floor because of noise funneling, everything funnels back to the CMTS. If it's bad, it's probably bad for everybody.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Because the noise floor ingress comes in, noise funneling goes back to the CMTS. So everyone probably has the same bad carrier to noise or signal noise ratio. And the CMTS will make a decision, say the SNR is bad, my uncorrectable FEC is above a certain percent. Maybe I should change the modulation on the CMTS. CMTS will send an upstream channel descriptor on the downstream map or one of the messages, I think every 2 seconds, or when it changes, it automatically sends it. And then every cable modem that was sending will now send at a lower modulation scheme because the CMTS sees there's a problem. Now, if you're talking about DOCSIS 3.1, like we talked about the profile management, that's much better and more granular because now you could say, well, this modem alone is having an issue, maybe because of group delay or micro reflections just in his house. So it's not an ingress noise problem. You can look at a spectrum analyzer in the head and it looks fine. But every time he transmits, he has bad MER because he has reflections going back and forth between his ground block and his cable modem.
Yeah. So I think the two important the things that you're talking about here, John, is the funneling effect, which means if you're a subscriber, you're sharing that upstream with maybe 100 or 200 other subscribers. And the noise that comes from your house, your neighbor's house, and every other house on that same upstream all basically adds together and arrives back at the CMTS. So if your neighbor is making a lot of noise, you're unfortunately going to experience that same degraded upstream. And so you could drop from 64 QAM to 16 QAM. The second issue you were talking about, John, is you could have loose connectors within your own house that's causing signals to reflect back and forth, and that can cause your modem to have issues, but it's not a noise-related issue, it's a reflection issue. So maybe your neighbor's not having problems, the whole node isn't having problems, it's just within your house because of bad wiring. That's why the coax is so important to be clean within your house.
Correct. I mean, I like to implement things on the CMTS I call self-healing, kind of like insurance. So I like to implement like dynamic modulation so that the customer's up and running. Because the flip side of this would be if you aren't running that app or that feature and it was bad, you just get 100% uncorrectable FEC and they wouldn't get any traffic.
Nothing happens.
So, I mean, in one regard, it stinks that they're dropping to 16 QAM, but at least they're still up and running.
Data's still going.
But it's on the operator to keep track of it to know that it is dropped and go fix it.
Go fix the
You
noise.
know?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Don't use all these features as band-aids and not monitor it.
Right.
Because if you're not monitoring it, I have modems that might be 3.1 capable, but they are in 2.0 mode and you don't even know it. So you're trying to sell them a 1 gig service and they're never going to get it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, we got some more comments in the chat room here. Grab a sandwich says bean counters seem to be out of touch, especially when they only care about the next chord. So that's, I think, a comment on why we're doing fiber or coax and not fiber. 10 QAM, the most robust LMAO. Sorry, in the mood today. Got it. Username redacted. Grab a sandwich. John's mic sounds like it's across the room. Sorry, couldn't help myself. John, your audio. You got to get a mic, man. Will they ever get rid of QAM? You can still run IPTV on that too. I don't think they'll ever get rid of QAM or 6 megahertz channels. So this is just saying, we still send our video over analog QAM. I think we normally say QAM. That was a joke. 16 QAM. I think he was talking about his 10 QAM.
Let's quantify also the QAM, because I think what they're saying is single carrier QAM, right?
Right.
OFDMA still uses QAM. I mean, the modulation within OFDMA is still quadrant amplitude modulation, just different levels of QAM. And I think they're mentioning single carrier QAM.
Yes.
The 6 megahertz.
The 6 megahertz wide single carrier QAM. Versus in an OFDM or OFDMA channel, we're talking about QAM channels that are only 50 kilohertz or 25 kilohertz wide. They're very, very narrow channels, subcarriers.
Yeah.
And then Dominic, welcome, Dominic. I can't remember if we've seen you on here before. You can still run regular digital cable. Mia's saying, yes, we have. I apologize then, Dominic. Digital cable and MPEG for an ATV seat on 192 makers channel. Regular channel, sorry, voice text. I meant an MPEG for an HEVC on that regular channel. Sorry, voice text. Got it, Dominic. Yeah, and I think that's so. Back to your point, we can run video over different things. And username redacted. I have to run, guys. Brady and John, thanks again for a 100-year episode of quality info and training. You guys have no idea how much this content has helped me understand the nuances of RF. Thanks, username redacted, for joining us on Friday. All right, so we got through some of the questions there. So John, you were talking about the sort of that theater that they have in the main hall of the conference room. That's where we'll be having PNM Live this year. That was another thing that I wanted to plug. That is also in the wireline network evolution track. PNM Live is a session that we've done the past several years where we play videos of technician using PNM Live out in the field. There's a number of us that'll be doing that, a number of vendors that'll be doing that. Same vendors who have done that for the past several years. This year is going to be a little different than in past years. In previous years, we would just show one impairment being identified and troubleshot. However, this year, our goal was to demonstrate that with PNM, it's easy to find and fix impairments very quickly. So Mia and I went out in the field with one of our PNM customers. We were able to find and fix 5 impairments in 4 hours using PNM. The details of all that is going to be in the video that we show at SCTE Expo at PNM Live, so if you can, definitely come and see the video. We had an absolute blast doing the troubleshooting, even with Hurricane Debbie looming over us. We did it the day that Debbie was coming in, so we only had a few hours to do the work. During that time, we found 2 bad line extenders. They had a lot of corrosion and issues with it. We found a bad tap. We found a water-soaked drop with multiple squirrel shoes and a very corroded ground block. Again, all located and repaired within 4 hours using PNM, and just had a great time doing it. The techs enjoyed it. It was in North Carolina.
My neck of woods.
Yes, not far from you. So that was very exciting. Like I said, that PNM Live will be announced. It'll be at the show. So it's on the first day of the show on Tuesday. So definitely.
Let me ask you this: PNM Live, the word live, will you have someone live this time or not really?
No, no one's actually live in a field because I mean, we have to be really crisp. It is an eight. Each of us are doing 8-minute videos, so because of the logistics of actually trying to get someone on the phone and say, "Hey, fix this impairment now," you just don't have that time with a live audience. So you do have to pre-record it, but everything that's recorded that was actually done live in the field. That was legit.
Yeah, that's good.
So I have one more pick that I wanted to talk about from the show that of the presentations, and this one is from the AI and automation track. So the AI, I mean, that's artificial intelligence, but this one is on how can retrieval augmented generation fine tune your LLM. So complex sounding title, but this session focuses on how generative AI is helping cable operators be more efficient and effective. In particular, one of my colleagues, Santhana Shari, will be discussing how AI is being used in our PNM application to help technicians navigate the complexities of PNM and really just understand all the things that are happening in there. As an example, if you were to ask ChatGPT or any of its competitors out there today, just a simple question, if you just went in and typed, "What is full band capture?" you're likely to get some very strange results back from that question because ChatGPT doesn't know the context that you're asking what is full band capture. It doesn't understand that you're asking that in the context of DOCSIS in the cable industry and things like that. So what we're doing and what the panel will be discussing in this lecture is how we're able to custom train these large language models on specific topics as those in our industries. And this is called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. And once your AI model has been trained as a RAG model with cable industry specific data, you can ask it, "What is full band capture?" And it's going to give you a very specific answer that's taken from industry papers like those that are written by Ron Rannick or yourself or myself, anyone that's written something on full band capture and put it in like an SCTE paper, because we've trained it primarily on SCTE papers or Cable Labs specifications. And that RAG model is going to give you a very specific answer on full band capture, very much the way like if you ask Ron Rannick, "Hey Ron, what's full band capture mean?" And it's gonna sound a lot like it came from Ron Rannick because a lot of the papers we took directly from Ron. So this AI RAG model that we embed into our PNM application, and Cable Labs is working on the same thing, and a lot of other vendors are doing this exact same thing. It helps the technicians if they're working in a piece of software that has one of these AI agents in it, and they're like, "Well, I don't understand what FBC is, or I don't understand what full band capture is, or maybe I don't know what pre-equalization is." They could ask it this question, and it's going to give them a very specific answer that's tuned to what our industry is. So this session, I think, is going to be really good. It's going to help people in the industry understand what vendors like us are doing with AI to help technicians and cable operators become more efficient, more just training. And these things will continue to become extended. So not only are they able to say, "Here's what full band capture is," but you could say, "Hey, take a look at this cable modem and its full band capture signature. Does it have any impairments? Does it have like a suck out? And if it does, well, what causes a suck out? How do I fix a suck out in the field or a standing wave?" And that, these are things that are just going to continue to evolve and help technicians in the field become better at their job, because now that's like having a trainer with you all the time when you're logged into these applications. It's really, really super exciting.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's anyone that's spent lots of time writing documents, putting together presentations, doing speeches and stuff. And now that I'm retired, semi-retired, it's like, how do I get the information I've put together out there more?
Yep.
Like, I put a lot of time into this. I want people to have it. I'm not hoarding it. I want people to have it. So it's like to have it out there somewhere, and this RAG or AI grabbing the information. I think it just helps all of us, But you know what's going to happen? The first thing is going to come back and says, "Well, it depends." Ron Panic. Quote unquote.
That's exactly it.
Well, it depends.
Well, that's the problem. It's like guys like you and myself and Ron and the Larry Wilcots of the world, we don't scale, right? And we're just getting older and older. So we got to take all the material we've written, put that into these RAG models, and then we do scale. And that's exciting. That's a very exciting prospect. So we can get our RF knowledge out there. So Bandit says, I'm currently working on high split. We're using Technetics amplifiers, John, that use a T-box to access the UI of the amp to make changes. Is this the smart amplifier you mentioned?
Yeah, I believe it is. On T-box, what's he mean by a T-box?
I don't know. Maybe he'll follow up and let us know.
I would think it's more like a smartphone that can plug into a USB. Because I think ATX has the same thing, right? I think they have their own user interface that plugs in via USB. Some people looked at Bluetooth, but then they thought maybe that would be a security issue.
Yes.
They want to make sure you plugged it in, and then you could access the information of the amplifier. You can see what the levels were. You can see that it's running properly before you leave, right? So if you're installing new equipment, you want to make one truck roll and that's it. If you have to make another truck roll back, that's really inefficient and costs a lot of money. So I think it is probably one of the smart amps he's talking about. I'm wondering if he can reply back. Does it have plug-in pads and EQs, or is it automated? Like it has what would you call it, like a pin diode or a
he just replied back, and he says, T-box used to plug into the USB.
Yeah.
So that must mean you have to go right to the amplifier, plug into that USB, and then make your pad and equalizer adjustments. So this sounds like maybe an older, like the first gen of what we were looking at from what vendors were working on for smart amps. There's a next generation, and you can probably speak to this a little more, that vendors are working on where you don't have to go out to the amplifier and plug into it. Initially, they're saying, well, maybe we should use like a DOCSIS cable modem to make these changes, but what if the DOCSIS network is down? So I think now vendors are looking to go to a proprietary method to communicate with the amplifiers remotely, not using DOCSIS. That way, if your DOCSIS network's down, you can still communicate with the amplifier. You can still see if the amplifier's online, see what its what its transmit and receive levels are, and adjust its pad and equalizer, and then get your DOCSIS network back up and running. And that's very, very cool. So you don't have to run out to that amplifier. Unless, of course, you can't communicate with the amplifier, and then maybe the amplifier's bad. So then you got to go out, put a new amplifier, and get it back up and running. And that's the next generation of smart amps that, like what John is talking about, that vendors are working on. And I think they're very soon, if not already, in test and field trials out there in the market. And those will be on.
Node plus 2 amplifiers or node plus 1 amplifier, just having that functionality and visibility. You could actually troubleshoot faster. You could set it up, auto setup, plug and play,
right?
True plug and play. I'd still want access at the amplifier itself if I was troubleshooting. But we talk about sweep and balance, it could be all automated. And I could be at the comfort of my house or in the head end and just look at what everything's showing me and make sure everything's up and running the way it's supposed to be running. And then because it's automated, it helps with temperature shifts too, right? So we usually have automatic level control and stuff but now with the advent of upstream spectrum going higher and higher, maybe up to 396 megahertz on the upstream, I'm going to have some type of upstream leveling functionality as well. We don't have that in amplifiers today, but we're going to have something like that soon.
Van says, "Oh wow, that sounds cool. I need to change companies." LOL. So. And there's at least a couple of tracks, or not tracks, a couple of sessions at SCTE Expo that are talking about smart amps. They also talk about how AI and machine learning will tie into these smart amplifiers. So if they see an impairment, or maybe they see the gain of one amplifier go down, they'll automatically adjust the pads and equalizers to compensate that. It's not going to fix it, but it's kind of like pre-equalization or PMA. It's going to compensate it, so the subscriber doesn't feel the pain while it buys the cable operator the time for the technician to go out and fix that amplifier. So really cool stuff out there. Grab a Sandwich says, operators just want more tools to find ways to have fewer techs. Well, that's the whole world, right? I mean, we're trying to do more with less. Bandit says, Technetics model is DBE 1200S. Are you familiar with that model, John?
Not particularly.
Yeah, I'm not either. So, but I am now. So we learned it. Thanks for the information, Bandit. So, John, you're going to be around a Technetics booth. I will be probably around the Open Vault booth. Open Vault's going to have a booth there. We're going to be showing some new products as well. The Open Vault booth, thank you, Mia, is 604. Come by and see us. We have also we'll be at PNM Live, and I'll be at the presentation that I talked about with Larry, Mike Odell, and Bilal. We're going to definitely let us know if you have any special requests.
Yours is at 12:30, which is good. Monday, right? Or Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Right? First day. Is that the first session of the day, or their session starting at like 9?
No, there's stuff that runs all day long because they have like the opening session and morning sessions going on. So stuff runs all day long. I think pretty much every day through the show. Other than that, I think that got it for all of our comments. I think we covered everything. Anything else you wanted to cover, John, before we wrap this up? Nothing on your mind?
Yeah, not much. I mean, I heard mention of DOCSIS 5.0 already.
So I haven't seen any. I got to check with Cable Labs to see if they've actually started working on the spec for DOCSIS 5.0, but I've heard for the last year about the rumors of DOCSIS 5.0. So for those of you who have not heard, there is a next version of DOCSIS that people are talking about, and I think specification work is in the works, and I think from what I've heard, and I think you heard the same thing, John, it's just going higher in frequency and potentially adding some more cool technologies to DOCSIS 5.0. So very excited for that. Mia just put up PNM Live is also on the 24th at 3:15 p.m. The Loft. So very, very excited about that. We're going to have fun. This is going to be a good expo, I think, this year, so I'm very excited. It is in my hometown, Atlanta, so that's also convenient for me.
I didn't check, but I hope, or don't know, there's not a Thursday night football game that week, is there?
I don't know.
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
Create some excitement.
That happened to us one year in New Orleans.
Yeah.
We were trying to leave New Orleans on Thursday, and everyone was piling in for the Saints game, which was right near the convention center.
Yep.
It was a Thursday night game. I remember that.
You know what? It doesn't matter whether there's a football game or not. I can guarantee traffic in Atlanta will always be bad. That's a constant.
Yeah. Just assume. Yeah, just assume it.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in for our 100th episode. We're super excited to hit this goal. We appreciate everyone's support and the questions. Great time in the chat room. Thanks, everyone. Please do hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. John, thanks for sharing, and I look forward to seeing you at SCTE Expo. For everyone attending Expo, please do look us up. I'd love to see you. Love to shake hands with you. Like I said, I can be found around the Open Vault booth or at the sessions. John, I think you said you'll be around the Technetics booth.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So until next time, take care, everyone. So long.
Thank you. See ya.